Man, oh man, am I about to stir the pot with this particular topic. Hello everyone, Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about healing in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, if you guys have watched any of the videos that I put on this channel, you'll probably realize that my main job in Final Fantasy XIV is that of the tank. I've played most of the time as a paladin or as a gunbreaker. I kind of tend to switch back and forth between those two because those two are the tanks that I enjoy the most, and therefore I kind of like go back and forth between them. Right now I'm a little bit more focused on my gunbreaker, but who knows, 2 weeks from now I'll probably be right back to my paladin because I'm particularly unstable between those two jobs. But despite the fact I know that if I play like a DPS class or a healing class, those are never going to be classes that I'm going to main. Those are just classes that I like to do as a side thing. And DPS, to be honest, I don't even like DPSing all that much, so really it's more about tanking and healing. So I also do a little bit of healing. I do have 2 max level healers in Final Fantasy XIV. I leveled up an Astro first, leveled up the Astro all the way up to 80, and I've done some raids with Astro. Again, I don't really do Savage content because I just don't have the time. You know, sometimes I play at odd hours, other times I need to stop playing in order to make a video like I'm doing now. So it's very hard for me to commit to like a specific raiding schedule, particularly whenever I'm not creating content, I'm basically spending time with my family. So, you know, the whole Savage thing is something that is like a distant dream for me. If I could find a static that would raid at like 11 p.m. or something like that after the kids are in bed, that'd be great, but there doesn't seem to be that many of those in Europe, so it'd be pretty hard. But anyway, let's get back on topic here. So, I main a tank, and therefore, as you can imagine, I've done a lot of dungeons as a tank, and I've been exposed to several different healers as a tank. And before playing Final Fantasy XIV, as you guys know, I did play World of Warcraft. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go like, oh, and back in my World of Warcraft days, this is the way that we used to do things, and healers need to heal and not deal damage. That's not my argument here at all, because I realize, I realized pretty fast when I started playing Final Fantasy XIV that the rules in here are quite different. And as a matter of fact, I appreciate that healers get a little bit more additional time that does allow them to deal damage. I think that's fantastic. I think that the problem is that a lot of people play pretty much all of the content of the game as if they were auditioning for a Savage raid static, which in my opinion doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean that a lot of healers will go through either a dungeon or any kind of encounter in the roulettes or whatever, and they will let a tank go way below 20%. Like I think I've been below 5%, and the healer's still sitting over there casting either his dot or whatever he needs to cast to deal damage. I gotta tell you, as a tank, that is incredibly unnerving. That is incredibly uncomfortable, and it's happened to me more times than I can count. And again, I understand that, you know, there's usually enough openings, and if everything is going all right, that the healers should DPS. You're right. You're absolutely correct. That's not what I'm trying to say here. If you read the title, what I'm trying to say is you need to heal before you DPS. And what does that mean? That means that you need to make sure that your party is comfortable enough that if someone makes a mistake, they're not going to instantly die, so that you can deal a little bit more damage in between. Because let me tell you, you know what deals the most damage in the whole game? You want to know what deals the most damage in the whole game? A party that is alive. You know who deals no damage? Someone that is dead. Therefore, as the healer, it should be your priority to first heal and then DPS. And I find that this is something that a lot of players are like, no, but I need to optimize my rotation, and I need to do this thing, and I need to make sure that my dot is up at all times. And my thought here is, well, does that mean that if the tank is below 30%, your main concern should be to refresh your dot on the boss? What happens if the tank dies and you all wipe? You think that's going to make the run any faster? Because I don't think so. I think even if the tank dies and you somehow manage to salvage the situation by, you know, rezzing the tank and everybody runs around, catch the boss a little bit, don't you think you just wasted everybody's time? And at the same time, the tank now has a debuff where he deals less damage, he's weakened. I don't know the exact stats of the weakened debuff, I'll be honest, because usually most of the runs that I tend to do, we we choose not to die. We try not to die over here. That's actually one of the reasons why I really liked playing the Paladin instead of the Gunbreaker, because whenever I have one of those healers in my group that, you know, would let me drop uncomfortably low to the point of, like, I'm talking 20 sub 10% without having, you know, some kind of like a skill that would get me back up instantly. Like, I don't know White Mage skills. I know most of the other ones, but I don't know White Mage skills. So unless you had like an X-Cog on me or something like that, letting me drop so that it goes back up, whatever. It's just the type of play style that kind of frustrates me a little bit, because there's no need. In about 90 to 90% of the content that this game has, there's no need for healers to be on their tippy toes, just like DPSing every single friggin' second. There's no need for you to do that. Okay, if you're in Savage rating, then that's a completely whole different discussion. Sure, let the tanks drop, whatever. I don't know how Savage rating works because I haven't really done it, okay? So when you go to Savage rating, then sure, the rules there are different, and in there you definitely need to pump out more deeps. But like in regular dungeons, in friggin' leveling roulette, I see people letting tanks drop to like 10% because they want to deal damage. Like, what are we doing here? It's leveling roulette. It's not Savage Eden. It's leveling roulette. You don't need to deal that much. You can actually afford as a healer to not deal any damage at all during leveling roulette if you want to. It's not going to make that much of a difference. Hell, in expert roulette, you probably don't have to deal any damage. You should, but you don't have to. So I guess my point here is, look, guys, I understand that you want to be optimal and you want to improve, and you should. You definitely should. I'm not going to be the guy that sits here and tells you, you should not deal damage. You should only heal. That's the wrong attitude as well. I believe that every player that is playing the game should strive to improve his own abilities and try to really min-max his playstyle, min-max his rotation, try to optimize his button placement to be as optimal as it can possibly be, and really try to squeeze out as much damage as you can and do all of those things. But at the same time, you need to take into consideration that not everybody that is sitting in all of the different queues that you go through is a Savage Raider. And not everybody wants to be a Savage Raider. And a lot of times, like, I would even see people do this to, like, Sprout tanks. It's like, dude, he's a friggin' Sprout. Of course he's gonna panic. Sometimes I even see the Sprouts, like, just start running around. They're like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And they start moving the boss all over the place because they don't know that that's kind of like how a lot of healers play this game. They'll just let you drop obscenely low to then pick you back up and continue to DPS. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, let's try to find a bit of a middle ground here, because, like, I've had a lot of discussions with my community on this on stream, and a lot of people are saying, no, but you got to DPS as a healer. And I'm like, look, I understand in the top like 5 or 10% of the content of the game, like in Savage rating, extremes, ultimates, in that type of content, sure, you have to deal your damage, you have to optimize everything, and nobody can make mistakes. But if you're doing other content that's not that big a deal, how about you unclench your cheeks just a little bit, just unclench a little bit, you know, and just relax, okay? And heal people and let everybody just have a good time. I guarantee that so many runs would be a lot smoother if it wasn't for the fact that we have these situations. And it's the same thing for tanks, okay? Tanks should also, I mean, although tanks, it's not as big of a deal, I find, but tanks should also learn a couple of things when it comes to these situations, because a lot of times I also see tanks, I mean, I used to do the same thing, by the way. This is criticism that I apply to myself as well, but I would see tanks just like go in and not really not use, but more like, I'm gonna save all my cooldowns for the boss. This isn't World of Warcraft, dude. You don't save your cooldowns for the boss. Whenever you're doing dungeons, you want to use your cooldowns on big pulls. You want to pull, like, you know, 2 or 3 packs depending on how good your gear is, how good your healer gear is. You want to pull like 2 or 3 packs and then you start popping your cooldowns. You only need to save like 1 cooldown for the boss for whenever the tank buster comes around. That's the only real time that you need to just guarantee before you get to the boss, you have at least 1 cooldown, 1 big cooldown ready for whatever tank buster that boss might have. But other than that, dude, you should be using your cooldowns pretty much on every pull. It's like you pull 2-3 packs, boom, make sure to pop, damn, I forget the name of it now. The purple thing. Damn it, it's an AoE thing that, I forget its name. It's an AoE spell that reduces everything, the damage of every creature around you by 10%. God, it's just on the tip of my tongue. I think it starts with a D. Whatever, it doesn't matter. You know, use that and then pop arm's length as well to slow down the attacks. If you need to on the next pull, then you pop Rampart, and then you pop like on the other pull, like whatever cooldown your class has. But like use your cooldowns in between pulls, because that also makes the healer's life a little bit easier, which then allows them to not just be sitting there forcing to spam heal you. You know, just because you're taking so much damage because you're not using your cooldowns appropriately. So it's important to kind of strike a balance here. Both tanks need to start using their cooldowns a little bit more often, and healers need to start, in my opinion, need to start focusing on healing a little bit more, keeping your party a little bit more comfortable, and not leaving everybody on the knife's edge, where there's been so many times that I see like DPS mega low, and the healer just be like, oh, whatever, just don't get hit by an AoE, I guess. Well, what if they make a mistake? What if they lag just like a tiny little bit? What if they're a Dragoon and they happen to jump at the wrong time, you know? Like, you gotta give enough of a leeway to people that allows them to make one or two mistakes without instantly dying, because ultimately that is the fastest way to run the dungeon. Now you can say, but if everybody's doing their job appropriately, then I can DPS more and everything goes faster. Yes, but what if someone makes a mistake and somebody dies? Doesn't that slow it down way more than if you would just like were to cast one more AoE heal or something like that? You know, it's just something that I see in Final Fantasy XIV a lot personally. And again, the tanks need to adjust to that as well. I might make a specific video talking about the tanks, but the tanks also need to do something about using a couple of more cooldowns in between their pulls in general, because I see a lot of tanks that just don't. They save all the cooldowns for the boss, and a lot of times they use them reactively, whereas in Final Fantasy XIV, you really should be using your cooldowns more proactively. Like you see the cast bars, you see the boss has a cast bar, he's casting something, you don't see a target on the ground, you're like, this might be something that's gonna hurt, maybe I should use a cooldown now before the hit actually comes in, because after the hit comes in, it doesn't matter, because you're not gonna be taking that much damage after you take that hit in most situations. I'm speaking very generally here, but yeah, guys, let's just do a bit of an effort to at least make things a little bit more comfortable for everyone, particularly now with a lot of new people coming in with patch 5.3, the new trial and stuff. There's a lot of new people. Let's make sure we make them feel welcome as we all travel through Eorzea and the First, and, you know, experience our own journeys throughout Final Fantasy XIV. But let me know what you guys think about this particular topic in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What are your thoughts on all this? Let's have a conversation. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy this video, hit the dislike button, because feedback is important. If you usually enjoy my content, my Final Fantasy XIV stuff, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon so that you're notified whenever I put up a new video. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.